Zeami, who helped create Noh theater in 14th century Japan, wrote in his treatise Fushikaden about performers' attainment of the flower, quote, the principle that lies at the deepest recesses of our art, the most important element in understanding Noh, and its greatest secret. When he performed, especially as a young man, Zeami clearly possessed that flower, that difficult-to-define magic, and it made his performances unforgettable, his contribution to the genre unmatched. How did he do it? Zeami himself frequently mentioned the importance of the training he received from his own father, Kan Ami, who was the leader of an influential theater troupe and an extraordinary performer in his own right. So, the flower of Zeami's art grew from a relationship with an unforgettable teacher, who also happened to be his father. There's a greater lesson in this for us, and I promise it's not about Freud. Whenever you hear a great musician, or even an average one, perform, you're also hearing their teachers. Musicians learn how to do what they do through encounters, through dialogue with other musicians. Sometimes this dialogue is casual. The great blues musician Robert Johnson, the one that Keith Richards mistakenly thought sold his soul to the devil, find out more in the chapter on blues in Pathway 2, Music as Emotion, used to hang around Son House and other great blues musicians, watching their hands, listening to them play. Then Johnson disappeared for a time, apparently to develop all that he saw and heard into his own inimitable style. When he reappeared, he had become a master performer. So, the teacher-student relationship here was casual, but crucial. Many great musicians have also learned from recordings, listening to them over and over again to try to imitate every nuance of an instrumental solo by Louis Armstrong, for example, or every shade of a vocal performance by Sarah Vaughan. And, of course, many great musicians, in many different world traditions, train at a school of music, where they encounter a variety of teachers with different specialties: singing, playing a particular instrument, music theory, music history, composition, business, therapy, and so forth. But most musicians who study at a school of music form a special bond with their performance teachers. There's something transformative about being in the same room with another, more experienced musician, having them listen to you, coach you, in some cases show you how to do something more efficiently, more convincingly, more beautifully. I remember so many lessons with my oboe teacher at university, Charles Vesey, practically the patron saint of reed making, or with my first composition professor, Martin Mailman, who believed that artists should be artists in every facet of their lives, and who also legendarily set off the fire alarm in the music building on several occasions by smoking in his office.
Today, smoking is going to save lives.
But in some music cultures, particularly in the past, this special relationship with a single teacher was much more intense and often lifelong. Well into the 20th century, it was this way for most Indian classical musicians. Take the great sitarist Ravi Shankar, discussed in Pathway 3, whose relationship with his teacher Aladdin Khan was formative. Shankar lived with Khan, who became his guru, in some ways a kind of surrogate father, with all the problems and benefits one would expect of such an intense relationship. Again, I promise not to mention Freud. But however complicated the relationship was, when Shankar performed a raga that he learned from his teacher, some of Khan's teaching about that raga came through. The intensity of that lifelong teacher-student relationship is present in another approach to learning music, and this one takes us back to Zeami. That approach is to join a group of musicians who all share a certain level of expertise. One word for this is guild. In Japanese, it's ryu, which is sometimes translated school. In Pathways to Music, I discuss guilds in chapters on the shakuhachi and on No theater. My own admittedly limited training in No, singing and dance, has been through members and students of the Kita Ryu, the Kita school or guild. The Kita school is one of the 5 traditional guilds for No actors, and it comprises about 20 families of performers. One of those performers is my teacher's teacher, Omura Sadamu. Despite the fact that my own teacher, Richard Emmert, is a certified instructor of No and has been studying the art form for well over 40 years, he still describes Omura as his sensei, his teacher. This respectful language is more than a matter of form. It indicates the amount of accumulated knowledge that senior members of the guild have. But what does a guild do for the student? To use the language from the intro to Music as Art in Pathways, a guild provides the student with an entire group of teachers, all of whom share the same catalyst, a practice, a repertory. You might say that members of a guild train in order to have expert-level dialogue about their practice. And as the members of a guild participate in that dialogue, they continually refine their craft, memorizing the poetry for the over 200 plays in the standard No repertory, not all at once. Learning how to sing convincingly in different styles, and how to blend the sound of their voices. Understanding how to convincingly align what they sing with the No drummers, without the aid of a conductor. Guilds represent a remarkable teaching organism, one that is increasingly like an endangered species. At their best, guilds commit for life to a dialogue centered on discovering, refining, and passing down the flower of their art. I hear a bit of the power of that system every time my teacher starts to sing.